I saw a video recently where someone said, we as Sagittarians hate drama, but when we snap, watch out. And I couldn't help but think, why are we still using zodiac signs to justify our bad behavior? A close friend of mine sent me a video on IG, and they're the kind of person who always has a justification for everything they do. And honestly, more than half of the time, the reasoning doesn't even make sense. In a video that he sent, if I can summarize, it's a woman who passionately talks about warning other people not to put her in their conflict and drama, which I can appreciate. But then she proceeds to talk about how she would respond to it because she'd be ready to snap, and how she has a temper, and almost like it's a badge of honor of some sort. And how she's that way, and that's just the way that she is, and that's how all other people who are Sagittarians are, Sagittarians or whatever. So when I saw that video, I didn't just see a relatable take that she tried to convey with how someone will behave based on their zodiac sign. I also saw a lack of personal accountability. And I think it stood out to me even more because of who sent it to me. This isn't really about astrology. And the comments on the video even confirmed it, because people from all different sides were cheering her on, or were cheering the message on. And they couldn't have all been Sagittarius. That's when I realized this hits deeper. It's not about star signs, it's about how we justify our behavior. So first, I agree with her when she says to avoid conflict and drama, but I think it's more important to clarify conflict and drama are not the same, which she doesn't fully make clear whether she sees a difference between the two or not. So I don't want to assume she doesn't know. But conflict can be necessary. I think it can be healthy, and I think it could be a positive thing. I think it's different from drama in that, it means, to me, conflict means if there's a problem that two people have identified, and while they don't agree, they're working together to solve it, meaning that they'll try to meet in the middle, try to come to an understanding, and it might take a week, it might take 2 weeks or whatever, but there's a shared goal there. So you both are on the same team and you're just trying to figure it out. Drama, on the other hand, should absolutely be avoided at all costs. Drama is destructive. It's messy. It's often about ego and not finding a solution. So when she says she doesn't want to be a part of drama, yeah, A+. Yes, don't speak for anyone other than yourself. Don't gossip, and don't get dragged into other people's problems. Because when you're speaking for someone else and they didn't give you permission to, you may misrepresent them. And also, don't speak about someone behind their back. If it's, something that you wouldn't have said to them in person, or something that you haven't said to them in person. I think that's just common courtesy. But I think we have to be comfortable enough to be in conflict and manage confrontation in a healthy way. So I'm there with her on that. My biggest issue with her take is the way she talks about how she should respond to conflict or drama if it happens, with how she says things like the way our attitude is set up, the way our temper is, the way we're ready to snap, because when we get mad, I'm like, whoa, that's glorifying emotional outbursts. And the person who sent me this video told me their takeaway from the video, which is what they got from it was, don't push us to be the worst version of ourselves. And look, I get the sentiment, but nobody else should have the power to bring out the worst in you. That's a lot of power you're giving to someone else over you. That's a massive expense. And I don't think anyone is worth that price. To me, allowing someone else's actions to determine how you respond is an indication that there's work that needs to be done to manage our emotions. It means that it's the work hasn't been completed yet. And I get it. We all get upset. We all act out in ways that we wish we could take back. But allowing another human to get me to be the worst version of myself, I don't want that to be my response every time I'm upset with someone. That's what children do. They hit or cry or shut down when they don't like what someone else did to them, or how someone's treating them. But as adults, we have to grow out of that and learn how to manage our emotions and have productive conversations. So I have a hard time respecting when someone uses their zodiac sign or trauma as a free pass. We can recognize our patterns, and once we see them, it's our job to change them. Being born in December, being born in May doesn't make you a hothead. Just being a human does. We are all emotional beings. So now what? It just comes with being human. It comes with its territory. Because with that logic, people should be excused for everything they do, because everyone has their own past and experiences that shape who we are as adults. And many of us, while we had parents, we may not have had parents who raised us with the emotional tools that we needed to take into our adulthood. I know my parents didn't teach me this. We didn't really talk about emotions or self-regulation. There was no process to teach me as a child other than whenever I was angry, got emotional or whatever, my mom, a very religious woman, would say something like, "I'm going to pray to God, he gets the attitude out of you." But that's because that's all she knew how to do. That's all she was taught. Growing up in a religious family. And my dad just hated when we fought as siblings. So he just told us not to fight with each other. But there wasn't much rooted in psychology. So I had to learn on my own, especially if I wanted to become better in every aspect of my life. I had to learn a lot about emotional regulation through trial and error, and then picking up books to get more information to begin applying. But I don't think most people do that. But I do think that you can learn, because if I can learn, believe me, anyone can learn anything. The zodiac's trauma, our upbringing, they can explain our instincts, but they can't justify our choices forever. They can't be our excuse to continue our behavior, our decisions, or our reactions. Eventually, at some point, growth becomes our responsibility, not our zodiac's. So what holds people back from that growth? Often I think it's something called a fixed mindset. The belief that, quote unquote, this is just who I am. Having a growth mindset is important. It's different. You can either have a growth or a fixed mindset. And people don't usually want a fixed mindset on purpose. I don't think it's not intentionally chosen. It's just safe. It feels safer and more comfortable. So people generally cling on to it because it protects their ego. If you believe traits like intelligence, personality, or emotional control are fixed, well then failure doesn't mean you're not trying hard enough. It just means that's just how you are. It's a way to avoid the pain of growth, and it reduces responsibility. Fixed mindset thinking says, this is how I was born, ain't no changing me. And that removes the pressure to change or to confront the hard truths or to feel guilt for our own actions. And a fixed mindset is familiar, especially for people who grew up in environments without emotional tools or support. So it can feel like home. It can be part of our identity, like the woman in the video saying, we snap, that's just who we are. That's textbook fixed mindset. But the issues with having a fixed mindset is that it limits your growth. You stop learning. You hit plateaus in things like your relationships and work. You avoid accountability, and many of us hate that word. I hate it too. But you become less resilient because mistakes become proof that you're not good enough, rather than opportunities to learn. So it creates fragile self-worth. Since your value is tied to fixed traits, any challenge to those traits, like failure or any criticism, they'll feel like an attack, even when it's delivered in a kind way, even if it's delivered in a loving way. With the alternative, which is the growth mindset, that says, I may not be good at this yet, but I can improve with effort, time, and feedback. Being open to other people sharing how they're doing, how we're doing and how we can improve. And if there's a project that we did, getting their opinions, that would be important to in getting that feedback. A growth mindset is where transformation and freedom really happen, because it builds that resiliency and confidence rooted in doing your best day in and day out, and being okay if your best lacked on any given day, because there's always tomorrow, next week, or next month, or next year to do better. I learned about something called transactional analysis from a leadership course I was taking. And if anyone wants me to do like a full video breakdown of this, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do that. But it's a good way for us to take a look at ourselves in the mirror. It breaks our behavior down into 3 main ego states. There's the first one, which is the parent. There's a parent in us which copies what we've been taught growing up. It's our upbringing, it's our learned behaviors, it's the things we believe, etc. Then there's the child, which reacts with emotions and instincts. It's also where our creativity lives. It's also where our impulsivity lives. Impulsive. It's where we can get impulsive. And then third, it's the adult, which processes and responds with reason. It grounds itself in reality and evaluates it and analyzes and then decides. When we snap or react without forethought, that's our child ego reacting. When we repeat what we've seen growing up without thinking, that's our parent ego. Our parent ego can be reshaped, but generally we stick to our core beliefs for the most part. And when we take a beat, we breathe, we respond instead of reacting, that's the adult ego stepping up. Showing up at that adult is the hardest. The adult is the only ego state that actively grows, like through like reflection and new information and choice making. It's the part of you that can question what the parent side of you believes. It can soothe the emotional response of the child side of you. It's constantly updating and maturing and helping you rewire how you interact with the world. One thing the teacher said, which I thought was powerful, was that whenever he needed to have a meeting with someone where his emotions could run high, he talked to his inner child and said something like, hey, listen, I'm going to have an important meeting, but you can't be there. I have to leave you in the car, but I promise when I get back, I'm happy to tell you all about it. But I need the adult person of me to be in that meeting, and I need you to take a step back, right? It's a mental trick you can do with yourself that works because you can almost separate it from yourself and then place it somewhere, because we can't touch our emotions. We may think we can't control it, but the truth is, even though we may feel it and we can't quite touch it in a tangible way, it's something we can control. We can move it somewhere. We just have to externalize it, and that's how we can, I guess, figuratively move it somewhere and deal with it separately. These 3 states are always inside of us, and self-awareness is knowing which one is driving at any given moment. So the point of this is, you're not a puppet with strings that other people control. Your zodiac doesn't decide how you treat people. You do. So whether you're Sagittarius or Taurus, your power comes from how you respond, not how you were born. And hey, I'm not above this. I make these videos as reminders to myself too. My inner child shows up sometimes, but I don't want to stay that way. I want to grow. And if you do too, I hope this helps. I don't want to judge the woman in the video. My intention isn't to be judgmental, so I hope it doesn't come off that way. I just want to ask, when we get in that mode, is it possible for us to do better and find ways we can improve? It's like watching film. When you're an athlete, it's good to watch the last game or team to understand how to overcome and be victorious. So these are moments like that. I saw myself in her video because, like I said, I'm not above this. And so this to me was like watching film. So if you're on your own growth journey, hit like and subscribe, leave me a comment, and let's connect. I really appreciate you watching.